Hi, I'm Keith. This is my art channel. Today, we're going to dive into something brand new. I'm going to show you how I painted this dinosaur slash dragon monster. It's a lengthy video. If you want to learn something or just be entertained, just check this out. Okay, on the screen is my new dragon slash dinosaur. I've been painting and drawing these things for years and years and years. And since it's been about a year since I've made a new demo or tutorial, I thought I'd pick something I could do without thinking too hard. The theme of this particular work of art is texture. The reason why I chose that is because I've seen another YouTube artist do kind of the same thing, and I wanted to rip him off and steal his idea, because art is all about theft, stealing ideas. So I wanted to come up with a lot of scales. Not that I haven't done scales before. I've done scales with my acrylic paintings, and but this is more of a pencil drawing with ink wash and some acrylic. And if I can teach you anything at all about artwork, and that's that ink wash to me at least, is very, very important. It allows you to shade and get your tones down very easily, very quickly, and it looks amazing once it dries. So this particular picture, I based it off of a Triceratops skeleton that I found online. Then I just kind of modified it to make it my own. Right now I'm just doing the outlines. Okay, right here I am doing the scales. It's really super simple scales. I'm just penciling them in. I'm not trying to cover the entire face. That's Keith Trim Artist right there. That's a little advertising for me. And that particular horn right there is facing the wrong direction, but it's more of a stylistic thing. There's no real reason why you would have a horn facing backwards. But I'm putting in all of my little scales all over the place, and that really does add to the texture and the interest of the picture. I also do a lot of cross-hatching. I started learning cross-hatching back when I was, I don't know, a kid, when I was doing cartoon work. And I do a lot of cross-hatching. I do a lot with thick and thin lines. Right now I'm using a 2B as in boy pencil, because I'm just, that's the average pencil you get in school is a 2B. But I also have an 8B I'll be using later. The 8B is very soft, gets dark lines, but it also breaks easily. So I have like 3 of them, and I've snapped the tips off of them as I go, so I just exchange them out as I'm going along. So I'm doing some cross-hatching here on the neck. Right here I'm adding this dark stuff here. It's going to be for reflection. You'll see later on when I add that in there. So I'm going through and I'm adding more and more darks and defining my edges more and more and more and more. I didn't know what I was going to do with the body here. I just kind of winged it a little bit. I wanted to thicken the face up a bit, give him a nice thick neck. I think right here I'm going over the edges with my 8. Yeah, that's a blue pencil. It's my 8B as in boy. It's really a dark pencil. It's a soft lead, but like I said, they snap off very easily. So you have to be kind of careful, or at least running 2 or 3 pencils at one time, so you're not running back and forth to the pencil sharpener like I was during this thing. I think I sharpened my pencils at least 10 times. And then I just edited that out so you wouldn't have to wait for me to get back. So here I am, and I'm thickening up my edges, because that's kind of a comic booky look, and I've kind of adopted that look from looking at comic books. I like making my edges on the outside edges really thick. Then I find the things in the picture that are most important, like the eyes and the nose, and thicken those up as well. On the lower right, I'm putting in veins, like blood vessels and veins, because I wanted to look like visceral, like he was a real monster. Okay, up the top you see I have my ink wash wells. They're different colors of ink. I mean, not colors, but different tones of gray. And I'm going with the lightest tone right now. And this is amazing. I would suggest you go out and buy some India ink in one of these little inkwell things. You just put the water in, you put a drop in 1, 2 drops of ink in 2, 3 drops until you get different levels. That way you can go in like I'm doing here, and all I'm doing is adding shading. And you have to have shading so your highlights work. And it's using ink wash to shade is so much easier than using a pencil to shade, and it looks so much different and so much nicer. I mean, I use cross-hatching with my pencil for shading all the time, but ink wash, I don't think they teach that in school. Maybe they do. I don't even remember how I learned how to do it. Well, actually, I do. When I was a kid, I was big into Mad Magazine. And one of my favorite artists was Mort Drucker, and he used ink wash all the time. I loved the way it looked, and I don't know. One day I must have went to the art supply store and bought some ink and just tried it. But I've been a fan ever since. So once you have your ink washes down, you get your tones all correct. When you come to do your watercolors, and I don't use too much thick paint here, when you go to use your watercolors, all you have to do is put a glaze over the top of it, and it's already perfect because your gray tones already got your shading down to the way you wanted it. And I love the way it looks with the pencil lines behind the washes because it adds so much more to it. Now here I took some sort of a burnt umber and I thinned it down. That's actually thick acrylic paint, but I thinned it down to the consistency of a watercolor. And I believe watercolors are just thinned down acrylics anyway. And all I was trying to do here was give this some tone. I wasn't trying to, be super good in my painting. This is actually very, very loose for me. I was just looking at the original behind me. I'm recording this voiceover. It's very loose painting. I wouldn't say it's, what's that word, impressionistic, but it's darn close. I just put some red onto the eyes, some red onto the snout to add a little flavor to it. I tried to go with a limited palette, but I did pull some green. There it is right there. I pulled some green in for the background. The green and red are opposite of the color wheel, and I don't know if that was a good idea to do that, but it worked out fine. And once again, this is like watercolors. Now there is my white paint, and I go in with the white. I don't thin it down. And this is a weird thing I do. With these, my last paintings, normally I wouldn't go in with a straight up white for highlights, but this is very stylistic for me. And I got this style thing down where I just use absolute white for my highlights, and I love the way it pops. I wouldn't do this for every painting I do, but this is kind of a theme I'm doing right now, and I just love the way it looks. So I'm putting in some white highlights on the horns, on any kind of edge that would reflect light. I'm putting the highlights on to make them come towards me. On the eyelids, I put the eye shine in the eyes to make the eyes come alive. I put a little bit of a backlighting on the chin there. And in super dark spots where it tends to just fade into blackness, I go in there and put a touch of highlight as well. Now later on this painting, I get my ink washes out and I almost go too dark. And but at the last minute, I pulled it out. Okay, right now I'm adding more texture. See how I'm dotting those whites on there? Kind of goes with the texture I did with the pencil when I drew those scales in. So here I am. I'm putting in more edges with the white. Oh, there's my India ink. What am I doing now? I've decided to go back in, and this is actually a darker version. Oh, no, what am I doing here? I'm sorry. I'm actually outlining everything with India ink with a brush. That's another thing I've got into recently. It's kind of a cartoony, I don't know, Marvel DC kind of look, but I wanted that really dark defining edge. I originally wasn't going to do this with this painting. I figured, what the heck? I got it out. I'm just going to do it. And I think it really adds to it. I'm kind of glad I did because it really defines the image completely. So I'm going around the back. It's a frill. The Triceratops had a frill. It was bigger than that. I changed it up for what I wanted to do. Here I am working on the eyelids, defining the eyes so they stand up. But now look at that thing. This is interesting. I put 3 eyes on one side, so there's 3 eyes on the other side, which means this dragon has 6 eyes. I don't know where that idea came up, but I think it's a neat idea. I did another painting where I had a squid that had like 25 eyes and a flower plant with eyeballs, and it was pretty good too. I got a video of me painting that. It's a pretty cool little video. So here I am putting in some cross-hatching with the brush, which I normally don't do. You have to be pretty darn brave to use your ink on your brush to do that kind of work, but I did it. What the hell? Right now, it's outside, it's blizzarding. I'm serious. Yesterday, it was 89 degrees. I saw it in my car. Today it is absolutely blizzarding in Nebraska, where I'm from. Beginning of the video, you probably saw I had Herbie Husker on my shirt and I had a Nebraska ball cap. But I live in Nebraska, where one day it can be 89 degrees, no, I mean 79 or 89, I don't remember, and the next day an absolute blizzard. So here I go in this part where I get a little scared because I went a little bit dark with this ink wash right here. I wanted to define the edge of the jaw, but I think I may have overdone it. But at the last minute, I come up with an idea, and I think I pulled it out, and I was still happy with it. I was almost going too dark. So I'm adding more and more darks. I'm going crazy. I probably should stop right now because I'm probably going to ruin the whole painting. But it's not ruined. I wouldn't have put this video up if it was ruined, because at the last minute I pulled my whites out again, and this time I did water them down a little bit because I wanted to be able to just put a, how do I say it, not a full bright white, but kind of a mid-tone white. So what am I doing here? I am signing my name because I'm thinking, this painting is done. Then I go, no, it's not done. It needs to be fixed because there's a problem with it I didn't like. So I went back in here. What am I doing right now? I am adding more, I'm adding more scales with a pencil because I felt that maybe I lost some of them in the painting, that they got covered up. But I want the pencil lines to stand out. So I went in here. This is kind of cool down here, kind of off the page. But I go through here and I add a whole bunch more scales on this right side because the picture needed to be balanced out. And it wasn't, compositionally, it wasn't balanced well until I put those scales in down in the right-hand corner. Now, here's my white paint. It's kind of thinned down just enough that I can put some highlights on there without making them stand out too much. And here's where I go in. I fix this jaw. I'm putting some more highlights here and there. And where's it at? It's coming up. But I'm just kind of adding more highlights here and there on the crest of the brow, here and there, up in the frill, and then up on the horns. What else am I doing? Adding some down the lower horns. There, on that neck. See how I did that? I put a little bit of white on the neck to pull it up so it's not so dark. I gave it a defining edge. And I'm going in here in the bottom left-hand corner and adding some more highlights on those scales. More scales, more scales, more scales, because I told you at the beginning of this painting, this was all about texture. Now, here it goes again. Add more texture into that jaw to lighten that up because I was too dark. Adding more scales, more highlights, and the highlights make the picture. That's what makes it pop, and that's what makes it worth $1 million. And I'll sell you this painting for $1 million. I have PayPal, my wife there. Do you see that? How I just defined that jaw? That is what saved this picture from the trash can. It went from trash can to $1 million just like that. Now, I want to thank you all for showing up and watching me paint this. I have lots more of these on my page.